Hi there, guys. It's Mike again. Good morning. Well, it was raining and dark, so Nico and I went for a walk. And amidst all that, we came back, or we're coming back, and Nico pulled over to the side and pulled me off the sidewalk, and my wheels got stuck. So I had to get up and get out of my chair and move it along. And it wasn't his fault. It was just I wasn't looking where I was going, but it all happens for a reason. And I got up and I moved it, and my back's hurting now. I'm using a backrest. I don't know if you can see it there, and so we'll continue with our chat. So get your coffee, tea, and relax, and have a good day. The province is, or has, sorry, not is, but has fired the VSB for not having a balanced budget. Now, the balanced budget was supposed to be done in June, so it was one of the stipulations so they could receive funding for seismic upgrade. And, a lot of people are up in arms saying, oh yeah, it's Christy Clark, our premier, just taking control of education in BC. Well, education in BC is a duly elected board to follow the guidelines set by the province. And the province, just the same as the province has to answer to the federal government, well, the boards have to answer to the provincial government. And one of the stipulations is that they have a balanced budget. Now, there's been 4 other boards that have been fired, not this year, but in past, for not complying with a balanced budget. Not having a balanced budget, well, a balanced budget makes sense. We really should have more control over our education. Now, if you need more money, well, maybe we need to raise the school tax, or look at different ways of fundraising. Property that's not being used, let it be used for nonprofit agencies that can rent out. Having more times, like on weekends, allowing the school to be used. Because, in the high schools, they're not so much personalized in each room. The elementary schools, there's an awful lot of teachers personalized, have a great day, and butterflies, and, there's little reading areas. Well, when you get to high school, those sorts of things are gone. So, it's time to think, well, maybe can we rent out at night? Get more working for that to help balance your budget. If you're running over, if you're I think on my human resources channel, which I'm going to have to do something on soon, we talked a bit about who are your customers. And, rightfully so, your customers are the people of Vancouver. But in other hands, it's your school board, it's your people who work for you as trustees. It's also the VSB has to answer to the province. And, it's kind of like, well, we'll just do what we want to do. Well, if you did that in a company, and I started with a company where the national office came in and said, no, you can't do that. This is the way it's going to be done. And we can't sort of look away from that. if you're not following the directive of the Ministry of Education, then of course you're going to be let go. If you're in business and you're working, or not in business, but if you're working for a company and you don't meet the guidelines set by the national office or the local, whichever, you're probably going to be let go. So yes, they're voted in by the citizens of Vancouver, but it's also that they have to live up to the provincial guidelines. And yes, education is important for our children, but it needs to be done in a way that we can develop our children. And the money's got to be there, and if the money's not there, what are you going to do? If you just keep spending, oh well, the province will just have to keep paying. Well, where are you going to end up getting the money? Most suppliers are going to want the money right now. And if they're unable to get the money right now, then, there's going to be problems. You're going to end up not being able to meet your guidelines, not being able to meet your staff funding. So, they were saying, oh, well, the school board was going to vote on a balanced budget today. Well, a balanced budget needed to be set in June. We are now in October. So here we're starting a new year without a balanced budget. There's problems with the senior staff going off because they're medically ill, and it's there's the whole stipulation about the trustees bullying the staff. And I say allegations. They're not, it hasn't been proven. But, there was just so much controversy that, people constantly needed to take a look at. And, it's all our elected officials. So, basically, we elected a board, and I'm in Burnaby, but I'm just an observer again. If we elect a board, we can elect people, and it's all right. They can go off and bully and do whatever they want. Well, in the secular, I'll call them secular, or in the private industries, it wouldn't hold up. So why is it being allowed in Vancouver? So if they're bullying their people, it's got to stop. We got to find out why the bullying is happening. So having the school board removed because that and not meeting a funding criteria, it's a job of the Ministry of Education. They set the guidelines. If you're not able to meet the guidelines and you go off and you do whatever you like, well, of course you're going to be let go. I can remember I was with an agency, I'm not going to mention what agency, and there was problems in the local board, we'll call it that, and there was conflicts and suggested wrongdoing, I'll just say wrongdoing, from the province. So the province stepped in, not the province, but the provincial board stepped in and removed the council. And the council was elected by the members. So each year they chose a council or a board to run that agency. However, same as the provincial board is given guidelines from national, And, if you have an international agency, well, there can be boards there. So, if you're not meeting the guidelines specified, if you and one of the big things with Vancouver is there was no money. They just kept spending money. So, personally, I don't see an issue with removing the board because we can't just go and spend money all over the place. And, the employees of the VSB have a right to come and, work in a safe place. And we've done videos on this. So, what do? Well, they have to fire and put in someone to fill the year. Now, there's only a year left in their mandate, so what's the point in running a by-election and everything? Allow this person to fill out, and then the election can go on. And there's a Vision Party, and the Vision Party says, they're still going to fight for the rights of the students, and, well, the rights of the students and, the rights of education. The school board did not meet two of the criteria to run day-to-day. Funding, and there's suggested improprietary moves amongst the senior the trustees and the senior staff. So someone is bullying, and these people feel like they have to take the time off. So there's two sides to every story, and the province just wants to take control. Well, it's the province that controls education. They give the power to the local boards. And if they're not meeting the criteria, well then, I'm sorry. Something to think about now, isn't it? Have a great day. UBC has had problems this year, or was it this year or was it last year, about break-ins and women, I believe it was all women being molested by men who break in. And now I see on the news that Laval University is having a problem in setting up more security. When I went to university back in the 80s, there was no real security concerns. During the night, someone would come and make sure that no one was entering the campus. It was a very small campus my first year. And I'll tell you, I went to Trinity Western for 1 year. And back then, the security was stopping people from coming onto the campus when school was in session. And it was one little person standing with a flashlight, but what was this person going to do if somebody came in to cause problems in school? So, security has been on our back burner for years. And, people go to school. There's a number of different security issues. There's students being raped. And, of course, that's all with the staff on campus. But it's up to the university to offer a safe campus. And whether that be you employ a security patrol and such. When I went to Trinity, the security big thing was down on the bottom floor in the girls' I don't know, campus or whatever, there was a television room. And a lot of times the guys would go over there because, face it, there were more comfortable chairs. It was easy to get to snack machines and such. But the security officer came in and was more concerned that there were men in the women's dorm. We weren't upstairs, but we're going to take your names. But maybe we need to be aware that if anyone reports impropriety, rather than going and looking for it and assuming it's going to happen, that we go out and, maybe have women for women dorms walk the halls and, have other women make sure that they are safe. A lot of women, this is their first time away from home. I mean, for long periods. And part of the new school year, on orientation, they should go through and teach how you can be safe. Make sure your doors are locked. It's all a great party when you go to university. And, a lot of kids like to party, but they also like to study, and sometimes it's studying late at night. So you want to ensure that their security is prominent and, making sure they're locked. If you go out, make sure you lock your door. If you go out for the front, I don't know if some places have a intercom system that if you buzz someone in, make sure you know the person. If you live out in the real world, most places now, if you're able to, they tell you should either go down and see who it is, or a lot of places have TV intercoms tied into your TV. Well, I know that's a little hard for universities to do, but if you're expecting someone and they ring, say, I'll be down in a moment, and go down and meet them. Don't just open up the door and let anyone in. Same thing as when you come in at night, make sure that the front door of the dorm building closes. That way no one's going to follow you in. And I'm all for women carrying pepper spray. I know it's illegal in Canada. However, I think it's important that if they need it, they can use it. I know it was used on me when I was working at LensCrafters, but that was a robbery situation. If women have to defend themselves, or anyone, if they have to defend themselves, if they're being attacked, then they should have the right to use pepper spray or bear spray or whatever to ward off their assailant. And I think a lot of times women go on the belief, I don't want to hurt this person. Well, what do you think they're wanting to do to you? So take a self-defense class. Don't sit there and say, the university isn't doing anything. You need to do something. You need to take control. Any university needs to offer safe lodging for their people. And if they have to go to a late night class and come back, whether it be back to a dorm, back to a car, they need to be safe. And just assuming, we have all these programs. but it's no good if there's a break. These programs need to be tested throughout the year. There were always, when I went to school, there were always fire drills, whether it be in high school or such. But you've got to question yourself, does your lock-in or lockdown procedures work? Have we ever tested them? Go into a lockdown, I don't know, 3 times a year, 4 times a year, to ensure everyone knows what to do. Because if they don't, then it's going to be useless to say, oh, well, yes, we have a lockdown. Well, lockdown, if no one knows what to do, then, and then you've got to treat it as a true lockdown. Oh, well, yes, they can cross, because most role plays is kind of like, oh, well, yes, oh, well, it's a fire alarm, let's go downstairs. But at least they'll know what to do. I know in the 50s it was a nuclear attack, and you had to hide under your desk. It's kind of like, well, if they were going to do a nuclear attack, do you think hiding under your desk is going to do anything? But I think the universities need to come up with a security plan. And part of this security plan is if someone makes a claim, it's investigated fully. It's not kind of like, well, this could hurt their life. Well, it may hurt their life, but they need to move on. And, allowing men or perpetrators to do this on campus, just what's going to happen when they get out into real world? It's not a good thing. So we have to ensure that people know what the safe things to do while you're in school and what not to do, and also to make sure that they know if they run into problems that they can report and that it will be handled seriously, not swept under the table because, oh, we have to, shh, it'll hurt the reputation of the school. Well, it'll hurt the reputation of the school because the school probably didn't do something enough to protect her or him. So it's something to think about, especially if you're in school or if you're taking a class and the parking lots are usually deserted. Make sure you go with someone. 2 girls, 2 guys. Don't just assume because you're a man that everything's going to be okay. Just something to discuss, something to think about. It's great to hear that the province is increasing funding for children who are still in their care. Now, I'm sure you can take a look at the Ministry of Social Development or the Ministry of Children and Families, I think is the one you want to take a look at. And taking a look at what the options are. There's Nico. And I think it's important that we do this. Right now, once they turn 19, they're thrown out. And a lot of times there's no skills taught. So what's happening is you have the continuous cycle of poverty. And I think part of the plan to get kids out of poverty, especially if they're born into a welfare family, and I'm not saying that's gonna just being born into a welfare family is going to make them not be enterprising and not being able to work. We see that in the States, in, the ghettos or the slums or whatever you want to call it. Kids can work, they're kind of work their way out. And it's great and it's important that they do so. We as people need to ensure that the children that are coming out of care, whether it be orphanages, I'm not sure how they're in care, but if they were at home and they had a stable home upbringing, the parents would say, well, this is what happened to me when I went to school and so on. And, they offer some financial backing. But just because this child is in care, and usually if a child's in care, it's no fault of their own. But, like 19, well, what are you going to do? And there's an awful lot who haven't applied for schools because, oh, well, the funding's not there, I can't do it. But we really have to teach them how to apply, teach them what kind of work, what to do with work. I can remember when I worked my years with 7-Eleven, we'd have these people who were on welfare come in and ask, saying, oh, well, can you sign this? Sorry. Nico, can you sign this saying I came in and asked for a job? I would usually say no. Now, no, not because I don't agree that they should be out there looking for work, but a lot of them came and they didn't look like they were ready for a job. Now, it's not that you have to look a certain way and you groom yourself, you have a shower, you shave, you have deodorant on. You're not coming and smelling all over the place. And you come and acting like you want the job. Oh, well, you just have to sign this so I can get my check. Well, that's really a waste of my time. If you're not going to be responsible enough to come looking like you want the job, then I'm not going to give it to you. Now, something to think about here. Part of this is that not that you're just going out and looking for a job. It's kind of like, well, I'll do that and then I'm safe for, I think, 2 years or whatever it is. But part of this is that you're getting up, you're going out, and you're looking. That sort of came in. Before I became into welfare and in disability, I kind of had to start where welfare would supplement what I wasn't getting at Save-On. Because, it was never a set hours or... So, I would take a look at this. And, because I was working part-time, I never had to go out when I was on welfare and get the sheet filled out. It's like one of these things. So you put the name down here, the address, and the signature. I don't think anyone checked it or, gave anyone advice on how to do this. And I think that's a life skill that anyone, whether they're in BC Care or they're just on welfare, period, they need to have the skills to go forward. And, you don't go out looking for a job if you party the night before And oh yeah, I got such a headache, but I'm here for the job interview. Do you really think you're going to be hired? Now, even if somebody comes and, you know, they're not in the newest clothes, and they may be just mended, but they're clean, and the person is interested and can carry on a conversation. That could be a person that is hireable. Not that you have the newest fashions. I've had people who did this who showed up in shorts, um, but they did their best. They looked better. Now I know I've had managers, or I've seen managers where they wouldn't give out an application unless you came like you were looking for a job. Well, that's always kind of hard because sometimes people would come in and say, "Oh, yeah, I see the sign you're hiring. Can I have an application?" But when they came to hand in the application and wanted the interview, they were always presentable. So it's not kind of like when you go into a store or any retail establishment and you see a sign, it's kind of like, well, yeah, you're going to have to go home and change and then come back and ask. I don't think so. I think we pretty well need to ensure that the kids learn this and learn how to be presentable and how to have a conversation. If you're sitting there and going, I'll do a valley voice because, like totally, and, that's righteous, man, to every answer, well, the person sitting across from you probably isn't going to hire you. But if you come clean, dressed, you can present yourself. I think that's the sort of classes we need to have. We don't have that right now, and I think the funding, greater funding, I think it's 2 more years, or if they're in a university or college, they can get 4 more years of funding. But before they're sent off, most of the time they've graduated, if they're still in school, they've graduated at 18. So that gives them a year to prepare to go out. And if they're in BC Care, they have facilities. The province should know where they are. And, maybe we should take a look and see if these children are actually prepared. And maybe they need to go to classes if, for that whole year, oh, well, yeah, like totally I was out partying. Well, partying can come after you prepare yourself. Something to think about. Have a great day, and great that the province has increased funding. Now, in closing, today we talked a bit about high school kids that are in care. We talked a bit today about youth in provincial care, it's a provincial care in Vancouver, and it's all like adults arguing. And yes, you can have 2 points of view, but we don't have to get all arguing. Well, that happens. Someone gets hurt or groped or abused at school. It's all swept under the carpet. It is time that we ensure all our children are safe, get a strong education, and are able to move into society. And we had three different versions. So, talk about it. Something to think about. Have a great day.